Here's what happened. On the evening of May 18th, I was skimming Google's pre-event material for its 2026 developer conference. I just wanted to see whether Google had a new Gemini model, whether Android had new features, and whether Chrome had yet another artificial intelligence button. But the more I read, the less ordinary it felt. Not because one demo was spectacular, but because taken together, these pieces suddenly became something much bigger. Welcome back to the Money Daddy Finance cartoon channel. Like before you watch, and may your money keep growing. All right, let's get into today's episode. Google doesn't seem to be releasing a bunch of artificial intelligence features. It seems to be remodeling the front door of the internet. I'm writing this in Shanghai on May 19th, 2026. Google's main developer conference keynote hasn't started yet. It begins at 10 a.m. Pacific time on May 19th. So this isn't a recap. It's more of a night before look, but some directions are already clear. Google isn't just talking about Gemini this year. It's talking about search, Android, Chrome, cloud services, developer tools, and intelligent agents that can get things done for you. So the real question is this: when you go online in the future, will you find things yourself, or will artificial intelligence find them, read them, compare them, click for you, and even place the order? It sounds like a small change, but it's actually huge. For the past 20 years, Google has been more like a road sign. You ask, which store sells coffee makers? And it points you toward 10 different roads. You look for yourself, compare everything, and decide which ad is too aggressive, which reviews look fake, and which ugly website has the real information. It's annoying, with ads, search engine optimized junk, pop-ups, and pages that force you to create an account just to see one specification. But even then, it's still a street. There are big stores and little stalls, beautifully designed brand shops, and independent blogs written by someone working late at night. At least you can see them. The age of intelligent agents is different. Google doesn't just want to give you a map. It wants to send you a butler. You say, I want a coffee maker for a small apartment, nothing too expensive. I mostly make lattes. The butler says, got it. I've read the pages, compared the specifications, and checked your previous coffee bean purchases and local delivery times. Here are 3 models I recommend. You say, I'm going to a show tonight, but I haven't arranged parking. The butler says, no problem. I found your ticket details. I'll look for a nearby parking lot and ask you to confirm before payment. You say, there's a grocery list in my notes. Please buy the groceries. The butler says, sure, I've already built the cart. Sounds great, right? I'm telling you, it really does. As someone who opens countless web pages, documents, long articles, and chat windows every day, I completely understand the temptation. In Chrome, you can open intelligent mode and ask questions while viewing a web page. Gemini in the browser can understand the page you're on, and later it will support automatic browsing. Browser skills can turn your usual prompts into one-click workflows. That stopped me in my tracks because this isn't some distant vision of the future. It takes away, bit by bit, the little tasks that already drive us crazy. It saves you 3 clicks, keeps you from switching between 2 tabs, and skips 5 articles stuffed with search engine optimization. It can even eliminate the misery of copying and pasting back and forth between 3 different apps. Would ordinary users like this? Most likely. I certainly would. Honestly, I'm a blogger with late-stage laziness. If the system can organize a dozen tabs for me, why would I do it myself? If it can compare information for me, why pretend I'm eager to do all the work? That's not an insult. People have always been completely honest about wanting convenience. But that's also the problem. The better the butler gets, the less you'll browse the street yourself. That's what I really want to talk about. Not what new feature Google released, but how the entrance is changing. Google's language around Android is especially interesting. Its official blog says Android could evolve from an operating system into an intelligent system that turns your intentions into actions. I read that sentence several times because it doesn't mean a phone system with one more chat assistant. It means the phone understands what you want to do, then opens and operates the apps for you. Before, when you picked up your phone, you first decided which app to open: WeChat, Taobao, Meituan, a ride-hailing app, email, notes, or the browser. The app icon was the entrance. But if Gemini can order coffee, call a ride, or build a shopping cart for you inside certain apps, that entrance moves up one level. You're no longer opening an app, you're handing the task to Gemini. The apps are still there, but they've gone from being the storefront to being the kitchen. Before, when you entered a store, it could show you the homepage, offer membership coupons, promote new products, and subtly influence your choices. In the intelligent agent era, you might simply say, order the same coffee I got last time, and the system would complete the task directly through a service. This part deserves some attention. Google, of course, will say, The idea that this brings in high-intent traffic for apps makes sense. If someone clearly wants to buy coffee, hail a ride, or place an order, that traffic is valuable. But another question immediately comes up. Which app will it call and which merchant will it show? Will users see three options or just one recommendation? Will the transaction go through Google Pay, connect to ads, or quietly give Google another layer of data? Wait, what? That turns an experience problem into a distribution problem. In the past, whoever was the default search engine owned the search gateway. Going forward, whoever is the default agent will own the gateway to tasks. Search is only the beginning. The real value is having the power to execute. Think about the difference between a salesperson and a concierge. A salesperson tells you where to shop. A concierge buys it for you. One influences the path, the other influences the decision. So to me, the key thing to watch at this Google Developer Conference isn't how many points Gemini gained or who it beat on benchmarks. It's how deeply Google will embed this concierge into Search, Chrome, Android, cloud services, and developer workflows. If all of that gets connected, the internet's gateway won't just be a search box anymore. It will become an agent layer. That brings us to AI overviews and AI mode. Google says AI overviews is one of search's most successful launches in the past 10 years. In major markets like the United States and India, usage rose by more than 10% for queries that trigger AI overviews. From Google's perspective, that's obviously good news. Users are asking more questions, making them longer, and are more willing to stay inside Google. Search has shifted from finding links to getting answers. But from the content creator's perspective, things feel more complicated. The Pew Research Center published a study in July 2025 based on browsing data from 900 American adults. It found that when an AI overview appeared, users clicked a traditional search result 8% of the time. Without one, that figure was 15%. Clicks on links cited inside AI overviews happened in just 1% of visits. And here's the painful number. When an AI overview appeared, users ended their browsing session right away 26% of the time. On traditional results pages, it was 16%. To be fair, we can't simply say Google is lying. Google says AI overviews can still send valuable traffic to websites, while Pew is measuring a different kind of page-level behavior. The two sides are using different measures. One looks at how links inside AI overviews perform. The other looks at whether users click away from pages with or without an AI overview. Different measures can produce conflicting conclusions. But that conflict is exactly where content creators' anxiety comes from. For the past 20 years, websites and search engines had a delicate bargain. I let you crawl my content, and you send me search traffic. I provide the web pages, you provide the gateway and make money from ads, and I get some visits, subscriptions, and business opportunities in return. Neither side was perfect, but the system still worked. Now, AI overviews are weakening that bargain. I give you the content, you give the user the answer. So where does that leave me? Where am I supposed to go? That's not media people being dramatic. I make content myself, so I feel conflicted. As a user, I genuinely want artificial intelligence to give me the answer directly. A lot of the time, I don't want to open 5 web pages. I just want to know what to do. But as a creator, I also know exactly what every lost click represents. It's not just a cold percentage point. It could mean one less impression for a small website, one less chance for a writer to be discovered, one fewer new user for a forum, or one less breath for a team that depends on search traffic. The table says 8% and 15%, but behind those numbers, there may be a real person. Maybe he lives in a second-tier city, works during the day, and writes reviews in his rented room at night with half a cup of cold coffee on the desk and a dozen browser tabs open. He's not trying to change the world. He just wants to explain one thing carefully. After finishing, he gets a few readers from search and a little income from affiliate links. Then one day, the answer appears at the top of the search page. Users read it and leave. He doesn't even get the chance to be challenged. There's something deeply thought-provoking about that. So when you look at it, Check and Penske didn't sue Google because they suddenly lost their minds. What they fear is that AI overviews have rewritten the old bargain. I give you content, and you give me traffic. This point needs to be clear. These are the plaintiff's claims, not findings by the court. Check argues that Google used its search monopoly to force publishers to accept having their content used in AI overviews and featured snippets, while the traffic flowing back to them was being eaten away. Penske framed it as an open web ecosystem problem, too. The old exchange of content for traffic had been broken. Google, of course, pushed back. Its position is straightforward. You can't demand that Google stop innovating just because search has become more useful. That one stings a little. But it's not completely unreasonable. If AI summaries really save users time, should we force everyone back to the age of 10 blue links just to protect old websites? That doesn't feel right either. But if all content gets turned into answers, traffic keeps falling, and creators lose the motivation to write, what will users find answers from when the open web slowly dries up? This isn't just about tech ethics, it's an ecosystem balance sheet. And Google's clever move is that it isn't keeping that calculation inside search. It's putting the same logic into Google Chrome. Google Chrome used to be a window for looking at websites. Now it's more like a workbench. AI mode can open alongside a web page. Gemini in the browser can understand the page you're on. And browser skills can turn a set of common prompts into one-click actions. And automated browsing takes that a step further. The browser isn't just for looking at websites anymore. It's starting to operate them for you. Clicking, comparing, filling things out, booking, and confirming. Think about how big a change that is. Websites used to be designed for people, where the buttons go, how prices are displayed, how reviews are sorted, and when coupons pop up. All of that was meant for human eyes. If intelligent agents start reading pages, extracting information, and completing tasks, the funnels built into many websites could get flattened. The pages will still be there, but people may stop looking at them. Agents will do the looking. That's a pretty startling shift. People used to study search engine optimization, figuring out how to help Google's crawler understand them. Next, we may see a different discipline, not getting people to click, but getting agents to call on you, cite you, include you as an option, and connect your service to a task chain. You could call it agent optimization or something else. The name doesn't matter. What matters is this. If you're not part of the agent's world, you could be like a shop by the roadside that navigation never recommends. You still exist, but nobody passes through. Following that thread, let's talk about regulation. In the September 2nd, 2025 opinion on remedies in the Google search antitrust case, a U.S. court described Google as a search monopolist and restricted certain exclusive distribution contracts involving Google Search, Google Chrome, Google Assistant, and the Gemini app. But the court didn't break up Google Chrome, and it didn't break up Android. That's what makes this so subtle. Regulators are trying to open the old gateways, default search agreements, the browser's default search engine, and pre-installed phone apps. Meanwhile, Google is building a new door right beside them. The old door is called the search box. The new one is called the intelligent agent. The old door asks, who is the default search engine? The new door asks, who gets to make the choice for you? Those sound like the same question, but the second one is much harder to see. Default search is fairly clear. You can find it in the settings, and there's usually a paper trail in the contracts. If you really want to make the effort, you can still change it in the browser, but where is an agent's default power hidden? It might be in a single ranking, a recommendation, a tool call, or even options you never get to see. Sometimes I think platform power used to be like a toll booth. You drove through and knew you'd been charged. The power of intelligent agents is more like navigation. It tells you, this route is fastest. You're happy with that, but you don't know it never showed you the other three routes. That's what makes the idea of a default agent so hard to explain. It isn't a pop-up, it's a habit of convenience. The more effortless it feels, the harder it is to question. Of course, Google isn't the only company competing for this. OpenAI wants to put search inside the chat box, while Perplexity has gone a step further. One-click shopping is already putting purchases directly into the answer page for its paid users. Over at Anthropic, the Claude Code Programming Assistant is targeting another gateway, coding tasks in the command line. Everyone is moving in the same direction. An answer page is becoming an action page, and a chat box is becoming a task gateway. But Google has a particularly unusual hand to play. Its advantage is that it controls several gateways at once: Search, Google Chrome, Android, and Google Cloud. The Gemini model is like the agent's brain, while TPU chips provide the computing foundation. Ad advertising, payments, and the developer ecosystem, and the path to making money is already laid out. None of these things is especially new on its own, but connected together, they feel imposing. You see a button. Google sees a chain, from forming an intention to understanding it, calling a service, completing a transaction, collecting feedback, and knowing you better next time. Once that chain becomes smooth, users have less and less reason to leave. The longer they stay, the more feedback the platform collects. And as the agent gets better, it keeps users inside even longer. That's the positive feedback loop. And it's also lock-in. Behind all of this is some very serious money. Alphabet, Google's parent company, reported first quarter 2026 revenue of $109.896 billion. Google's search and other revenue came to $60.399 billion, while Google Cloud brought in $20.028 billion. Even more striking was its first quarter spending on property and equipment. It spent $35.674 billion, compared with 17.197 billion in the same period last year. The first time I saw that number, I actually paused. This isn't conference showroom talk. It's data centers, servers, networking gear, TPUs, and chips. Power, land, and depreciation. What users see is a free summary, a browser button, or a little feature that automatically books their parking. But in the earnings report, it looks more like an industrial city under expansion. And Google Cloud isn't just tagging along. Officially, nearly 75% of Google Cloud customers use its AI products, and 330 customers each processed more than 1 trillion tokens over the past 12 months. You can think of tokens as the basic units models used to process text. Google's own models handle more than 16 billion tokens per minute through direct customer APIs. Those numbers are abstract, but put them back into the agent wars and they start to make sense. Consumers get used to agents first. Then, on the enterprise side, the paying customers show up. Cloud services, TPU chips, the Vertex AI platform, and the Gemini Enterprise Agent platform. Put them together and it becomes an infrastructure business. Fewer clicks up front with billing based on tokens, computing power, workflows, and enterprise contracts. There really is something to it. So I'm not trying to write a Google conspiracy story, and I don't want to portray intelligent agents as monsters. Quite the opposite. I think they'll be incredibly useful. And precisely because they'll be so useful, it's worth thinking ahead. You might not be a publisher, a search optimization company, or an app developer. You might just be an ordinary person overwhelmed every day by email spreadsheets, websites, shopping, bookings, and meeting notes. So when someone says, I'll take care of all that, of course you want to say yes. I completely understand that feeling. I want to say yes too, but power often shifts through convenience. When you're too lazy to write something down, you open navigation. When there's too much content, recommendation algorithms sort it for you. Your photos are a mess, so cloud albums organize them. Web pages get longer and longer, so smart summaries put the answer right in front of you. At first, it all seems minor. Maybe it saves a few seconds, or just a little hassle. Then, much later, you look back and realize you rarely choose things for yourself anymore. Nobody forced you. It was just too convenient. That's what's fascinating and unsettling about technology. It usually doesn't walk up sternly and say, hand over your freedom of choice. It says very considerately, I'll help you. You say, thanks. Then it helps a little more and a little more. One day you suddenly realize someone else is standing at the door. The internet used to be like a street, messy, noisy, and inefficient, but full of little shops, forums, old web pages, independent writers, and strange but useful advice in the comments. In the future, the internet may feel more like a lobby, clean, bright, and highly efficient. A concierge stands at the entrance, knows what you want, and knows the fastest way to get it for you. Of course, that's wonderful. But I can't help wondering, will the things outside the concierge's recommendations still be seen? I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure either. So this piece is more of a night before assessment. Once the developer conference is over, the feature names, regions, partners, and monetization details may all change. But the broad direction is already clear. The next internet gateway may not be a search box. It could be an agent that looks, thinks, compares, clicks, and places orders for you. In this war, the most valuable thing isn't just the answer. It's the decision that comes afterward. Whoever makes that decision for you is standing at the door. That's what I'm really curious about with this Google Developer Conference. Not how much smarter the Gemini model has become, but whether Google will quietly place this concierge in the parts of daily life we can't avoid. Search, Google Chrome, Android, cloud services, developer tools, and enterprise workflows. If it puts agents everywhere, then we may stop talking about a search war and start talking about a default agent war. That's the world we're entering. Stay curious, but keep a little instinct to ask, why should I? Thanks for watching this episode. I'm Kaiman, and I'll see you next time.